Alright guys, welcome to In-Depth Crypto, and today we're going to be covering the Bitcoin news. And so, as you guys see, Bitcoin is pretty much on its way to all-time highs, as it looks like. Currently it's going to be, looks like around 90,000 all the way up to about 130,000, give or take, for price. Looks like very soon. So we'll see if it does or it does not. And we're going to be doing quite a bit of analysis today, but I'm very happy that I thought of this idea because I used to always go on Discord and then type everything up and then think that I need to do a presentation and like prepare, like redo that. But I was like, oh, I can just read through what I did, but in video format. So this is basically what we're going to be doing from now on. Hopefully I can pump out a lot more videos. And lastly, before we start, trivia is coming. It's just I need to make sure that I have all the administrative stuff done. And I always delay the deadlines, but it is what it is. It will come. It will come. But yeah, so let's continue with Bitcoin. So basically, I have a history with this Bitcoin stuff all the way from back here, and I need to explain this to you guys so you understand where I'm coming from, right? And so, basically, Bitcoin here, or let's start when I got into crypto, right? I got into crypto in May of 2020. So, May of 2020 was right when COVID started, like 2 months after, and so Bitcoin price was around here, $7,000, $8,000, right? And then so during this time, it was very difficult to get Bitcoin, at least in the United States. Where back then I had to go on a website which was a peer to peer, so I had to upload a state ID, and then I had to send money to someone on Cash App or PayPal, I forgot what it was, and they gave me some Bitcoin. That's how I had to get my first Bitcoin. But then over here, this is where Cash App, November of 2020, yeah, this is when Cash App decided to offer Bitcoin for their platform. So that allowed a lot of Americans to be able to buy Bitcoin, including myself, extremely easily. All I have to do is go on the app versus having to do all this peer-to-peer stuff. So Bitcoin went up, and then all the way up to 60,000 or so. So as I have here, so mind you, this is called In-Depth Crypto, right? This is the side of the channel where I talk about very detailed crypto-related topics and analysis, right? But I had another channel called In-Depth Crypto, which was what Watch to Earn is, but like this version 0, and we used to have an Instagram too. So this Instagram is still live, and this entry was from January 23rd, right? So my whole point in 2021 and updated until now, and excuse my nose, allergies again. So the whole point of me in 2021 saying this, and also now, is that I believe Bitcoin is very, very Ponzi-ish. And it's not because Bitcoin itself is, rather the misinterpretation of what it's supposed to stand for, and the current lore, the current folklore of what Bitcoin is supposed to be. You know, the anti-inflation, the store of value, gold 2.0, that type of stuff. Because people follow that, and that's one of the main drivers between their deciding to buy Bitcoin or something else. That ultimately resembles or kind of transmutes into meaning that Bitcoin itself is in a Ponzi manner. And we're going to be talking about this in depth, and we're going to be talking about this with the ETFs managers. And it's very crazy when you think about the potential of, in terms of a complete blow up of Bitcoin price, fast forward 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. But first we're going to go back in 2021, right? So as you can see here on Instagram, this was April 23rd, 2021. So this is coming up 3 entire years now. On In-Depth Crypto, I said Bitcoin is over. Take your profits now. It's going to crash to about sub 20,000. I said sell your Bitcoin earlier than that, April 18th, 2021. And this was when it dropped down to about 55,000. So April 2021 was right here. So it was on this candle that I said to sell it, and I was right for a great portion of it. This blue line represents that. So you see, and you can track it on here. That's an entire 1,043 days. I was right for it before it broke out. So And I was wrong for a little bit here, so we'll see how much this is. But realistically speaking, it will probably do all time highs, probably today or in the next few days. So even if the sentiment is wrong now, that I said it's going to go to 10,000, but I said it might go down past 20,000. So I was correct about that, and it did go down to all the way down to about 16,000. So I was correct from all the way up here, but I did say that it could go to sub 10,000. I did say it would go to right about here. So that might be wrong, but the overall sentiment though is correct, which is that especially with these ETFs, it took me a while to think about my reaction to it because I'm not one of these people who chase the news and that type of stuff too much. So I wanted to think about it and create a thought process on it, and that's basically what I spent the last 2-3 hours typing in the Discord. So what did I say here? So I'm not going to read everything. You can join us in the description if you don't. If you like this type of, I do these analysis a lot on here just because it's way easier to type. And then now that I realize I can just do this on video format, you guys will be able to see what I write, and it'll be cool. Cause I try to do this on Medium as well. The platform to write, but it's just like Medium. No one ever reads that stuff, so it's like it's always hard to do that. So I said, yeah. So read this caption here. I've been waiting to make this one. Bitcoin had its run. I personally believe this is the top. By the time the market corrects to about 20K or so, which I just showed you on the chart that I did, and possibly back up to around 60K, which is where we're at right now, it'll be over for Bitcoin Original and Bitcoin Classic. And yes, I do. And this was before, obviously, this was way before any ETF news. There's no way I could have possibly known that. But, it's crazy that I wrote this and also published it. And I'm so glad that I did. It's because it's like, even when Bitcoin does more than likely break all-time highs, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter, and there's a few different reasons for that. And so we're gonna go to our channel here. So I spent all day doing this so far. So it's 11:38. I've been typing on here since like 8, so it's like 3 entire hours doing this, but it's cool though. So I said, yes, it's breaking its all-time high. This was at 60,000, so $200 less than it is. Or, oh, sorry, $1,700. My bad, $1,700 less. So yeah, so basically, what we have to understand is that in crypto, people misunderstand that yes, crypto is investable. Yes, the most common other alternative market would be the stock market for people who are in crypto to also do or also participate in, maybe Forex. But really, that's something investable. Forex isn't really investable like that too much. But yeah, so the issue with mistreating cryptocurrencies as stocks is that you have to understand that because these are currencies, you have to be able to cross compare these in terms of years. And what I mean by that. So in today's post, we talked about how in traditional currencies, so we have cryptocurrencies and we have fiat currencies. In fiat currencies, we have things called like an inflation calculator. And so as you guys probably know, an inflation calculator just calculates what one price will be in, let's say 2011, and then the other one will be in 2024. And we're trying to do equivalence because they're saying that basically the economic environment for the currency itself is going to be different from 2011 to 2024. So if you compare $1 2011 versus $1 2024, that'll be a false equivalence, even though numerically it's a correct equivalence. So I want you to remember that. It's a false equivalence, even though numerically they're identical. Let's just remember that. So we understand that inflation calculator comes about mostly because the government decides to print. And I said there's many other reasons too, in terms of how banks create money, but that's too long of an explanation for this. But basically, the government aims for 2 to 3% inflation per year. And with that, as you compound that per year, you're going to see that in a 13-year span, $1.37 is the exact equivalent of what it was in 2011. And then if I were to do 2011, 2023, then 2022, 21, 20, and so far back, we'd be able to plot a line basically giving its function of inflation, basically. And so that same line, what we could do is something very similar in crypto, where instead we can't have inflation for most cryptos because there's cap supplies. So it's not like fiat; they're just infinite. So most of these have cap supplies. But instead of doing an inflation calculator, or adjusted for inflation, which is what you usually hear, we have to adjust for appreciation, which is the same difference basically, but within crypto. So how do you calculate this calculator for crypto? The only way to do that, in my opinion, is to be able to rely on trend lines. And so the reason is why, because people might say, "Oh, you're just drawing lines. It's not going to mean anything." But what trend lines represent is that in geometry. All right, yes. In geometry, a line connecting two or more items implies that there is a connection or correlation between them. It suggests that their items are related or dependent on each other in some other way, or in some way. This can be seen in various types of data, blah, blah, blah. And then you see, further down the line, sometimes may experience distortion from initial data points in the data set. So this is in terms of, we're talking about what's the disadvantages of using extrapolation of price, basically. And so it could, this distortion can be due to various errors or factors, measurement errors, outliers, changes in relationship between the items, etc. And so this is basic geometry. So this is why technical analysis does work, even though some people dislike it. But when you use technical analysis here, but not necessarily for trading, but just simply for fundamental analysis. So using technical analysis for fundamentals, not for trading. But you'll see here that the equivalent. So remember how we did here. $1 2011 is the same as $1.37 in 2024. You'll see that the equivalent then is that if Bitcoin is at if Bitcoin is at 64,000 in April 2021, it's at 69,000 in November 2021. The equivalent, when you compare the all-time highs, so I just compared two different rates at this intersection in this white line at the top. You see the blue gets you about 92,000, and then the yellow gets you about 130,000. So that's how you get that prediction range of price, and that's how you trade. It's very simple actually, but actually doing it with real money is way difficult, way more difficult. But the analysis part is very easy though. So this gives us a general guideline that even though, yes, we're technically breaking nominal prices, remember how I said $1 in 2011 isn't the same as $1 in 2024, even though they're numerically the same? So that's why we're crossing here. Numerically, yes, we are crossing $62,000, but realistically, we're still, let's say from this blue line, we're still 32% less. So adjusted for appreciation, we're actually trading at 61.6875 times point. And I said what? Point. What is that? 68 times 0.68. Right now we're trading at. Oh Jesus Christ. 61.68. Oh my bad. Roughly $42,000. My bad. It takes me a little bit to do that sometimes. But right now we're trading at $42,000 adjusted for appreciation in Bitcoin. So that's why people have to hold your horses, because it's like Bitcoin's ascent right now is not even in the mainstream news. It's not even in the mainstream news right now, and we're about to break all-time highs. So it's like you're gonna see potentially. I mean, who knows? I mean, we could go here all the way up to close to 250,000. We could do that. And the reason why I say that is because when you look at here, the all-time highs from 2018 to 2021, that fastest rate would get us to roughly $250,000 per Bitcoin. So it's like, and we're going to talk about here about these ETF managers here, where these prices are so distorted. It's so unbelievably distorted that if it's not now, in terms of literally right now, in the next 2 years, 5 years, however long it'll take, Bitcoin will see the largest red candle you've ever seen in history. Either is a red candle one of them. Excuse me, I'm getting a rag. My nose is running a little bit. Excuse me. So you'll see Bitcoin with the largest red candle ever in history, or the largest series of red candles ever. And just as we get closer and closer to this, like, Armageddon time, that will be the case. And I'll explain to you why with these ETFs, it's like it's written in stone. This is going to happen, in my opinion, at least. So yes. So when you look at here. Oh, it's connected to my TV. Anyway, what's it called? Digital Asset News is this guy. This guy's named Rob, and I listen to his news channel pretty much every, not every single video, because some of it is just personal stuff for him. But for the most part, I follow it. And recently, a month ago, he talked about this, which is the overwhelming supply of Bitcoin owned by these ETF companies. And so when you check, or when you look at here, let's see here. Oh, I thought I did that. Anyway, oh yeah, look. So this was a month ago. A month ago, it was at 3.925% that these ETF people had. They had 824,000 Bitcoin. Look at what it is now. It's 934,000 Bitcoin and up 4.45%. So it's like, you see the issue here is that same thing with Ethereum, with this issue with centralization with Lido Finance. You'll see here that Bitcoin has this is going to have a problem with centralization of these ETFs. Now, what does that mean? That means that even though, yes, the buy pressure is attributed to these ETFs and the hype around them, both their buying and then also other third-party buying of Bitcoin because of these, but you have to understand that just because, or just like how it goes up because of the ETFs, it will also go down because of the ETFs, because these are the highest proportion of Bitcoin owners, meaning that there's no one else proportionally who's able to offset their selling pressure if they ever have to sell. So we have to ask, in what scenarios will they sell? So, oh yeah, and basically one part of the reason why I didn't, excuse me. Part of the reason why I didn't make an announcement in terms of what my opinions were about the ETFs is because I didn't understand exactly how the companies made money behind the ETFs. So if I didn't know how they made money, I couldn't really make a proper analysis now. But today, and that's why I love AI, you can learn this stuff so quickly, so fastly. It's ridiculous. But yeah, so I learned about it, how they made money, and basically they make a lot of money based on their fees. So yeah. So explain how companies who host ETFs make money. So basically, they say they make money from management fees. They take money from lending securities to short sellers, trading activities, etc. So basically, that they hold the asset and they make a few different side incomes or side income streams, and basically their whole goal is for the asset to continue its value and also to increase its value, so that more trading happens, and so they collect more of the fees underneath it. So their main revenue source is fees from trading activity, which means that if trading activity ever goes down, their fees go down. So meaning they have to rely on trading activity to maintain itself or to grow, for the business to maintain itself or to grow, at least for this ETF portion, for this Bitcoin ETF portion. Some of these companies don't only have Bitcoin ETFs. Sometimes they have other ETFs or other financial products or just other businesses in general. So if a Bitcoin ETF were to close or to become unprofitable, they wouldn't necessarily go into bankruptcy, some of them. But still, we will see that they have the great potential to utterly destroy Bitcoin price. And so why is that? Obviously they have the most money because, look at that. Compared to countries, they're not almost double, but you'll see that they're gonna probably outpace double what countries are doing, let alone what public companies are doing. Bitcoin mining companies, what are we talking about? The people who actually secure the network. So it's extremely important to understand what these ETF vulnerabilities are. And so part of the thing that I discussed in today's post is that the how you say it? We have to ask ourselves what demographic of people does these Bitcoin ETFs cater to. So who's the target audience? Who's the demographic that will most likely like these ETFs? And so first we have to understand why these ETFs were made. So basically, and you'll see it right. You'll see it here. So basically, some of the reasons why people would invest into a Bitcoin ETF versus traditional Bitcoin is that one is regulated. So people like either companies who are doing this on behalf of other people for like maybe retirement funds or whatnot, they have to be underneath a legalized framework, at least in the United States, so that they can offer that to their clients. They can't just go on, KuCoin or something like that, Gate.io and do that. They couldn't do that. But now that it's regulated, now it's through the ETFs. Basically, that means that now they're able to do it. They're able to conduct Bitcoin-esque services within the United States. But what that also means is that, or let me explain another thing as well. So they did it because they don't have, because they have regulation within the ETF structure, within the ETF markets. But then also you have to understand that a lot of people as well either don't want to custody Bitcoin themselves. They don't want to have to learn how to handle private keys or anything else like that. They don't want to have to send it from this wallet to that wallet. What's a cold wallet? What's a hot wallet? Do I need a ledger? Do I need a Tangent? Or, can I just leave it on an exchange? They don't want to learn all these type of things. So with the ETF, it's something that they're already familiar with and that they're able to just simply get and go. So the problem that this creates is that a lot of these ETF proponents aren't really mentioning is that these people are having the most amount of money investing into these ETFs, right? So let's see, ETF valuation. Total value of ETF market. No. It said it was like 9 billion, 10 billion earlier. Around 7.3 trillion. Yeah, give or take around $10 trillion. But then when you look at Coinbase, not Coinbase, CoinGecko. On CoinGecko, you see that we're at $2.3 trillion. So depending on what stat, I guess, we're 3, 4, 5 times smaller than the ETF market. So the point of me bringing that up is that if indirectly and then directly through these ETF sponsors here, they have the most amount of money. They're buying the most amount of Bitcoin at the fastest rate. They're going to the ETF market, which is even larger than the entire crypto market, to then sell this Bitcoin to someone else or to a whole bunch of different institutions or just regular ETF people. If they're going to go all through those lenses, but then the demographic of people who are buying these ETFs don't want to custody crypto, don't want to learn anything about it, don't trust it, or for whatever reason want to engage in some, even though it's not a derivative technically, it's somewhat kind of sort of is with an ETF, which is basically just a digital copy of the Bitcoin that they hold in their ledgers or in their custody. You have to question then, how sustainable is that demand going forward? You just have to, because if someone holds, and that's why I said here, look, that's why I'm glad I have this Discord thing. I can just refer this to you. Here we have two different relationships between Bitcoin nowadays. We have one, which is the traditional Bitcoin users, and then we also have the financialized Bitcoin users or Bitcoin holders. And the financialized refers to the ETFs and people who own the spinoffs. But then the traditional Bitcoin users are the people who own them in the wallets, cold wallets, hot wallets, whatever. Who know the addresses, Lightning networks, that type of stuff, the actual crypto blockchain people. The problem here is that, and then there's so many issues too. It's like I'm trying to contain it. I know I'm going a little bit long, but it's all right. The problem is that the second group of people, group two, which is the ETF people, they're not interested in Bitcoin at all for its blockchain properties. You do understand that directly, right? In terms of, yes, they might think it's an interesting technology, so that's why they're investing in it through the ETF. However, them personally, they don't care if their money is on, well, in regards to this very specific ETF versus crypto ownership. If they're owning the ETF and not any of the crypto, you don't care if the federal government has oversight over it. You don't care if it can get frozen at any point in time. So that part of the crypto value prop is lost to the largest player in all of Bitcoin. That's not good for fundamental alignments when we're talking about, and we're going to talk about in a second, where Bitcoin price might crash, which is where, and I guess I'll get to it, how these ETF sponsors, how these ETF issuers compose their ETFs. They have to first buy crypto, so either from over-the-counter exchanges or through centralized exchanges or something like that. They buy it, they custody it, and then they create ETFs they mint the ETFs based off how much they own. So basically just like their certificates of the Bitcoin. So the problem is that in January, they just got allowed to do this by the SEC. Let's look at price. We're already at 62,000. So yeah, it's definitely going to break all-time highs possibly in this video. Who knows? But yes, look. So they bought it in January, right? In January, prices was at $42,000, which means that to conduct business within a 30-day period, their costs, nominally speaking, for per Bitcoin has increased by 53%. So what does that mean for their average price? If they're, oh, by the way, I'm not sure if you can see, but I have a Vicks on my nose, so that's what that is. My bad. What does that mean for average price? If their average price was just 40,000 in January when they first started, and now let's say they bought the exact amount of Bitcoin just now at 62,400, their average price is now 53,000. Let's say they do it again when it hits $72,000. Then all right, then now it's going to be at 58,000, and so on and so forth. So the problem with these ETFs is that they have a issue where when you're purchasing more and more of the underlying collateral that you need for the ETFs, the average price keeps on increasing more and more and more. So what does that mean? Exactly like a Ponzi, Bitcoin price has to increase for them to maintain their balance, right? So not only from trading activity, but just also from the balance sheet perspective of it. If the balance sheet decreases, right? So let's say their average price goes all the way up to, let's say, 80,000, right? And not everyone who eventually in all of time who offers a Bitcoin ETF got in just now. Let's say someone gets in today. They say, oh, it's up $62,000. Oh, it's 50%. Oh, let's get it now. Someone says that 2 weeks from now, whatever. If someone's average price, let's say, is $85,000, you do understand that when prices go back down to $70,000, when prices go back down to $58,000, that you cannot, they wouldn't be able to manage that, because from an ETF, like I said, they make their money how? They make their money through fees, through management fees, and also through trading fees. So the whole point is that if people aren't wanting to trade and they're just looking to sell, one, their trading revenues and their fees stop, and then two, their balance sheet appreciates. So it's like, who's going to be able to catch Bitcoin like that? So let's say it does go over here, and let's look at another trend line here. So let's say it goes all the way up to 130,000, and then it goes all the way back down to, let's say, $48,000. Which one of these companies who are buying billions upon billions of dollars of worth of Bitcoin are able to stomach a 50% decrease when their average price, like I said, as it increases, goes up to $65,000, $70,000? Who is going to do that? They always sell. Like a 2%, 3% loss is terrible for these people. And so it's not only for them, but also for the ETF holders. Remind you, as I said, there's two different people who are in Here it is. There's two different people now within the Bitcoin universe. So the Bitcoin financialized holders who own the ETFs, how much risk are they able to tolerate versus the true Bitcoin holders in the wallets? Obviously, it's night and day. People with regular Bitcoin who've been holding for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years will take a 20% loss, a 30% loss, a 50%, 60% decrease momentarily for 12 months, 18 months. That's what they believe in. These people who own regular ETFs, do you think they can hold that? Do you think they can do that, especially when their average price, because look, it's not even just the average price of the underlying companies that we were just talking about. It's also when they personally get in. So if, let's say, in the first 30 days, Bitcoin ETF demand is at 100%. Let's say in the next 90 days, 180 days, it's at 500%. It's at 1,000% for what it is now. That means that most of the holders of the ETF are at this price. So meaning that if price ever were to go back down, so it goes up to 130,000, goes back underneath 6 digits, if we're able ever to do that, you do then understand that the first people to sell would be the ETF holders, and the first people to slightly liquidate their positions would be the ETF companies underneath that, and then also it would be the Bitcoin OGs, because if you bought in, let's just say 2023, you wouldn't have to be an OG from 2015 or whatever. 2023, you bought at 16,000, 18,000, 20,000, and then you see here it's at 130,000. If you see people are selling here, are you going to wait for it to go back to 43,000 so you can only make a 2x versus a 6x, 7x? No, you wouldn't. You would sell with them too. So the question is, if we have, this is why the history of this chart really does matter. As I said, here is where we finally got people in America were able to buy Bitcoin easily through Cash App. So this is where retail demand was increasing. Then small institutional companies did come in. You remember Tesla bought Bitcoin. A few different companies tried with Bitcoin. El Salvador did as well. So when those people sell, I think Tesla did sell some. But regardless, when those people sell, and also this was also during the stimulus checks. So when these people sell, there's still a base of people left, which is all the people who got in from America for the very first time, which is including myself. So this is why this recovery isn't extreme, like all the way down. Whereas here, if we have these people who are the ETF people, so not just regular institutions now, not just a Tesla, whatever, these ETF people who literally hold the most, 4.45% now, it was underneath 4% a month ago. Let's say it gets up to 8%. Let's get it up to 10%. How much percent? What percent of ETH? What percent of ETH does Lido have? Yeah, look at that. 32% is staked. This also means 7% replaced by 7%. Yeah. So I mean, it's kind of less than I thought it was. I never look at that. I'm not gonna lie to you. But you know, with Lido, oh yeah, that's what I was thinking about of the staking ETH, not of all ETH. Sorry, my bad. But yeah, you see what I'm saying? Like when there's high concentrations of ownership of these public mainstream cryptocurrencies that are not corporate tokens like how we have it, but when it's of these mainstream cryptocurrencies, then everyone else's investment decisions does rely on what they have to say. That's like going to the UN and saying, oh, what America has to say doesn't mean anything. Or when we talk about economics, America or China doesn't mean anything. It's like, well, how is that possible? They're the biggest fish in the pond, so that means they have to matter the most. And that's why the same thing as with this Bitcoin holdings, that these ETFs, because their average price constantly increases for their business activities to continue and to grow, which they're most likely going to do, right? They're going to try to increase their revenues as much as possible. So it means that they keep on buying more and more Bitcoin at a higher and higher price from each other, right? Or, you know, metaphorically from each other. That means that as their business grows, their average price grows. That means their weakness towards any Bitcoin bear market, which is bound to happen eventually in the future, becomes that grows as well. Their weakness grows as well. So it's that's a bubble on top of a bubble on top of a bubble, but it's like an inverse snowman, basically. Where it's like before in 2021, people were just saying, "Oh, it's Gold 2.0, blah blah blah," even though the white paper says nothing about it, and so that's why people were just following the story. But at least that was retail doing that, and then there was El Salvador, and you look at the Bitcoin city now, it's like not too many people use Bitcoin, that type of stuff, whatever. So it's like it's okay when a country does that. It's okay when quite a few retail people do with the laser eyes. Remember, they do all the laser eyes on social media, whatever. You don't really see that too much, but you see to the moon. I mean, right now Bitcoin is gonna break all-time highs right here. But yeah, it's like when we have these ETFs and they're incentivized with tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars to continue buying, increasing average price more and more. You do understand that eventually there'll be a point in time where something's going to crash. Something's going to take, and the question is, who's going to buy that Bitcoin at that price? And it's like, that's why I personally don't like Bitcoin. I haven't liked Bitcoin literally since 2021. I thought it's very interesting in how it was the very first cryptocurrency. So I do believe that Bitcoin is great in terms of the foundation of what it set out for all the rest of crypto. But it's just from right now in terms of price, I really, until someone actually uses Bitcoin like they would US dollars, like they would like a corporate token, like how we're doing it, I just cannot fathom how this actually makes money, how this actually makes sense. Will it continue? Yes. Will there ever be a point in time where Bitcoin goes to absolute zero? I don't think so. Will Bitcoin always be number? Excuse me. Will Bitcoin always be number one? No. Bitcoin dominance has left. I mean, we can look at here. BTC.D. So this shows you the extent of which Bitcoin is popular compared to the rest of the cryptos. I mean, look at this. I mean, this is why I can't take Bitcoin seriously no matter what it does. No matter what it does. And let me put this here. Look at this, right? Up until, mind you, crypto came out in 2010, or 2009, 2010, right? Up until 2017, it held a position of over basically 94, 95%. Until 2017, in that exact same year, right? So this started from literally like January of 2017 with the Ethereum smart contracts and the NFTs and that craze. With NFTs alone, I mean, look at that. It fell all the way to the next year, one calendar year left, 35%. That's 60 points. And it's like, if a singular NFT craze, smart contract craze with Ethereum can make it crash by 60 points, and since then, not too much innovation has happened with Bitcoin. It's still expensive when it gets popular, when it gets hot. The confirmations still take longer than obviously on Binance Smart Chain, on Solana, on Avalanche, on Polygon, whatever. So it's like, fundamentally speaking, like nothing has changed on Bitcoin. So that's why it's like the only thing that's changed is what the narrative is in terms of the Gold 2.0 is going to save the world, these ETFs, these type of things, and how many of those people, how deep their pockets are, how much money they're willing to spend. That's the only thing that's been changing, guys. So it's like, I don't see it. I don't see it. So we'll see it, or we'll see if Bitcoin breaks all-time highs. It most likely will, and it'll be interesting. It's a new era, man, and it's crazy that I got in May 2020 and to be able to witness. I remember when we broke $10,000 and we were like, "What? But did it? Like, it was crazy." So, and that's why it's kind of weird how hold on, BCUSDT. It's kind of weird how there's not too much news in terms of leading up to this, because it was kind of very, very quiet, very, very quiet. So that's why I think it could go up to 100 and then maybe back down and then maybe see it all the way back up. Who knows? I mean, look at that. Who knows? It could go to $250,000. Who knows? It would be crazy, like, if you told me in 2020 that it would be at $60,000, like, and you just knew that. So I mean, it could go to $250,000, but it's like, irregardless, is that's why, our beloved BNB is up at 422, and that's why we have our corporate token. So we've been appreciating since there. So and then we have our Wax P, which is at now at 7 cents. So all of our broken faucet collateral and NFT insurance has been appreciating since then. So now that we're going to create our Wax token, we're going to be building on top of here. So if Wax ever hits $1 plus, like I experienced personally in 2021, we're going to be really good really soon. So hopefully you guys like that analysis. I think that Bitcoin is the greatest Ponzi to ever to ever go, and it's gonna explode crazily. Not crypto, Bitcoin will though, but not just not because of the Bitcoin blockchain malfunctions, but just because the speculative reasoning, the combined cumulative speculative reasoning for why Bitcoin is valuable, because that is Ponzi-ish. That is the reason why Bitcoin will eventually crash in time, and this will be the exact reason. So. All right, guys. So that's a 3-year update on this Bitcoin prediction. So maybe another 3-4 years, we're gonna update it again. So until next time, peace.